Here's the thing, BlackRock just said that they would not be creating an XRP ETF in the near future, and here's why that's so important. Here we are discussing BlackRock, the titan of asset management. No one is better at handling money than these guys. We're talking about between $10 and $11 trillion under control, though I can't recall the precise amount. It's crazy money. The market as a whole pays attention when BlackRock speaks. Consider it. Everyone in traditional finance was essentially waiting for the signal when their CEO, Larry Fink, eventually gave Bitcoin and those spot Bitcoin ETFs the thumbs up. All of these major players suddenly jumped right in. This guy's effect is like that. He is a market kingmaker par excellence. It hurts a little to see Larry Fink and BlackRock shut down XRP at this time. And to be honest, I was surprised by it. Consider it. Right now, about a dozen businesses are vying for the SEC's approval of their XRP spot ETFs. That number of businesses vying for it is unmatched by any other altcoin. On this front, XRP is truly at the forefront. What gives then? How come BlackRock isn't seizing this chance? A member of the XRP community with decades of experience in finance actually gave me some insider knowledge, and their perspective truly made the connection for me. Admittedly, I was initially baffled, but after hearing their breakdown, everything began to make sense. Look, I don't think BlackRock will simply wait for this to happen. I have a gut feeling that they will eventually debut something. We simply don't know when that will occur. However, before I go any further, let me just state the standard disclaimer. I have no formal training in finance or anything similar. I'm not your financial counselor, therefore you shouldn't base any choices on purchases or sales on my digressions. Okay, so this is where today became interesting. This afternoon, the block published a story with the title that the conclusion of Ripple's marathon SEC case might potentially impact the entire XRP ETF scenario. Here's the thing, everyone was expecting major businesses like BlackRock to jump in and apply for their own XRP ETFs when Ripple's legal crisis was over. However, the largest asset manager in the world essentially stated that it is not occurring at this time. This is what transpired on Thursday. After consulting with the SEC's legal team, Ripple decided to end the appeal altogether. The legal struggle was ended in an instant. A brief recap of the entire situation. In 2020, the SEC accused Ripple of unlawfully raising $1.3 billion through the sale of XRP as an unregistered securities. In the end, Judge Torres in New York rendered this quite intriguing split judgment. She indicated that Ripple's direct sales to large institutional investors were illegal, but their programmatic sales, basically the automated blind auction stuff, were perfectly acceptable and didn't violate any securities rules. Yes, those were violations of securities laws, and here's an important aspect that's frequently overlooked. She did not claim that XRP is a security by nature, rather she was discussing the transactions themselves. There is a significant difference. Nate Karachi of Nova DS Wealth, often known as the ETF store, put out the hypothesis that BlackRock might have been waiting for the legal commotion to subside before considering applying for an iShares XRP ETF after the news surfaced on Thursday. Karachi said on X, "Look, I think it makes no sense for them to ignore crypto assets beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. Otherwise, they are essentially stating that the only ones that will ever be valuable are Ethereum and Bitcoin. Audacious." Yes, that is a direct quote from the individual. This is where things start to get a little nasty. And on this one, I genuinely feel sorry for Nate Karachi. Then Friday morning arrives, and sometimes, life just strikes you like a freight train. His reasoning was sound. It made perfect sense. Given the vast universe of cryptocurrency, why would BlackRock restrict itself to simply Bitcoin and Ethereum? His reasoning was perfectly reasonable, but the timing was absolutely awful. Let's just say that his piece about BlackRock investing in XRP ETFs and all that confidence didn't hold up so well. I really don't want to be the one to bring it up. However, it quickly became sour from fresh. However, and this is crucial, he is not necessarily mistaken about the larger picture just because his timing was off. Things like these could potentially occur in the future. Anyway, have a look at this. Thus, he presented this intriguing notion on Karachi's show, Crypto Prime, on Friday morning. He's considering BlackRock. Karachi was positive before, saying that they were likely just waiting for this legal mess to be resolved, and then everything was okay. Incoming ? For XRP ETF. A representative for BlackRock then gives this reality check. BlackRock does not currently have any intentions to file an ETF for Solana or XRP. Thus, XRP isn't the only one being ignored in this situation. They are now restricting their cryptocurrency game to only Ethereum and Bitcoin. But to be completely honest, I don't think this is how things will always be. This is the post that Nate Karachi made just last night. Additionally, keep in mind that this man is the president of Nova DS, which was formerly the ETF shop. Yes, he says, I believe BlackRock waited for this to happen before submitting an application for the iShares XRP ETF. He's also sending the actual paper we discussed, the one in which Ripple and the SEC essentially stated, yeah, we're done with these appeals. Nate then intensifies his efforts. If I'm mistaken, I'll own it. I don't think it makes any sense for them to disregard cryptocurrency assets other than Ethereum and Bitcoin. Otherwise, they are essentially asserting that the only ones that will ever be valuable are Ethereum and Bitcoin. Audacious. Do you know what this whole situation makes me think of? Coinbase. I'm referring to 2017 here, which is actually when I started getting into cryptocurrency and realized this. There were essentially just 3 coins available on Coinbase's whole platform. 3, and this came after they had been in business for a number of years. They had Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin. They then introduced Bitcoin Cash at the end of 2017, which, to be honest, wasn't unexpected because it was only a Bitcoin fork. That one was obvious to all. There were 4 now. Then there was radio silence. They didn't add anything for a very long period. When it came to what made the cut, they were extremely selective. Since, let's face it, people already believed that the entire cryptocurrency industry was dubious in 2017. I believe they were utterly afraid of what may occur if they began adding a ton of coins. Given that reputation, Coinbase most likely reasoned that they would want to be the most reputable brand in cryptocurrency and let rivals take such chances. This whole Twitter drama is happening, isn't it? Then suddenly Eric Baltunis steps in. At this point, the guy is essentially a crypto Twitter royalty, enjoying a comfortable 363k followers. He obsessively followed every Bitcoin ETF rumor, leak and behind-the-scenes whisper in order to establish his entire brand. As their top ETF analyst, these guys have a lot of street cred at Bloomberg. He completely disregarded Nate's prognosis though. Prior to Nate's face being short-term, this was yesterday. Eric's answer was timeless. No, I don't think so. Hell, I would bet against it with a steak supper. Thinking, Nate responds, what's your reasoning? For example, Eric says, look, I think they're perfectly content with their 2 ETF setup. Adding more is just chasing smaller and smaller wins at this point. To be really honest though, I'm essentially acting on instinct here. There you have it, his unfiltered fiery take. Everybody has a different perspective. In essence, Eric says, we got the big fish, and Bitcoin will be the trading powerhouse anyhow. And he is correct in that regard. The problem is that in a few years there will probably be a lot more talk about XRP. At fact, we are currently at the sweet spot, acquiring XRP on exchanges when in reality, very few people, I mean fewer than 1% of the world's population, have ever dealt with it. Upon reflection, that is somewhat crazy. Time will significantly alter that equation. However, I do understand Eric's reasoning. You're turning up the danger with each coin you move down the hierarchy. The rewards begin to decrease as you continue to push farther out on that risk spectrum. That sums up his entire argument. The million-dollar question is then asked, okay, where is the cutoff then? Should they just add 5 or 6 more good points and call it a day? I spoke with this legendary Frecky member of the XRP community who has been riding the cryptocurrency wave since 2011 and has an incredible experience in finance. I needed to know BlackRock's chess move in this situation. Why let their rivals set up shop first and begin gaining